Hi, I'm AndrewZebrunIII. I'm here with Alexei Novitsky and Shelly from Brooklyn, New York City. And we're here talking about a whole bunch of different stuff. So what's going on with you, Alexei?
Oh, just hanging out Friday night. How you doing?
Great. I'm great. I was on a leak project today with Rex Bear. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, we had Artisan Tony here before, but he had to run. So Alexei wants to talk about a whole bunch of different stuff. So what do you got, Alexei?
Well, Miss Brooklyn, what was your you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Oh, I'm Shelly.
Shelly, that's
Shelly,
right.
and yeah,
Well, you're just talking about
I go by
how
Brooklyn. hmm
who was that the gentleman you were just talking about though? And he was talking about once you get to your place of quantum like stillness, essentially, you can create manifestations. Well,
Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right, right. Well, I wanted to like relate that basically to what I've learned, and I wanted to go over the book, the Physics of Love. But before that comes the infinite pool of experience and awareness. And just relating to that whole like that point of creation, right? Where you're so close to center, you could say, that you're able to manifest anything from the emptiness of space itself, right? You kind of like create everything. So like so this is the infinite pool. The first book in here is called Your Influence in Space, but the second one is called The Liquid Light State Universe. And it has the mind, body, spirit diagram. And it has what I call the golden spot, which is the point in the center. And this shows how every thought that you hold true, or any type of thought, basically creates energetic shifts. And then you basically have to spiral back to your 0 point. But the point is that when you're at that point of zero, you've got like a perfect harmonization in the quantum field to literally where you have, because you can consider yourself a magic sphere, right? And that's your mind, body, spirit antenna. And if you exist off center, your sphere isn't really capable of basically breaking up into different manifestations. And so by having like a perfectly harmonized square or sphere, right, centered in your golden spot, you can then create anything that will sustain. It will actually manifest as a physical manifestation that will stay living forever within your experience. Yeah.
Wow.
It's all about experiences, right? Like your experience. So we all have different experiences.
That's really deep.
We live in a 5D multiverse. So that would be how I relate that. I don't know. Would you have any thoughts on that, I guess?
I can't wait to get your book and read it. I find out the more that I learn, the more I think, and the more I learn, the more I learn, and the more I think, and it just builds on itself. I mean, consciousness just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
It is fundamental. At the end of the day, I'm pretty sure when it comes to like disclosure, it's like actually the whole universe is just pure consciousness. I don't know if they're going to say that, but I could see it going in that direction.
Well, I think they already did. In the Bible, God said, "Let there be light," and everything's made out of light, right?
You could say that. Yeah. But what I wanted to talk about today was the book I'm working on now called The Physics of Love. Just to go, a little bit further into it. I've made it up to page 22. And what's really interesting, and I guess I might as well just bring this up real quick, is when I finished this book. So, these have all come through very powerful visions. And when I finished, so the one I just showed you was the second book called The Liquid Light State Universe. When I finished the third book, which was called The Crystal of Time, I looked at my watch and it was 2:21 in the morning. And the date ended up being February 21st of 2021. So it was like 221, a whole bunch of 221s. And so that was kind of like, hey, you need to pay attention to that. And the premises of that is essentially what the book, The Fifth Dimension, is about. And those squares I just showed you, how 2 squares equal 1 big vortex. But then, so all of that basically leads into this. I'll do a screen share now, I guess, just to stop babbling and actually start saying something productive here. Leads into this right here, the physics of love, right? And so I guess before this, let me show one picture. Sorry, we'll get us all on the right page. There's so many tabs.
Yeah, live TV is often difficult.
Where's that? There it is. All right. Sure. So if you consider all of our, okay, so just to get everyone on the right page again, from the crystal of time, we realized that the Big Bang was the moment our universe collided with time. And what that means is that energy fell into the habitable spiral of perception. And so you could say that, you know, it's all about layers of perception and layers of experience. So if we only lived on Earth, we would be okay with saying that the sun just goes around the Earth. But since we go out into space, we have to like realize, well, hey, the Earth goes around the sun. And so now when we look out at the edge of the universe, people are saying, well, hey, the universe expands from every point in space. Well, that's just another layer of perception. Literally, our perceptions are being stretched and crunched depending on our relative frame of motion. And so you could say in the fifth dimension, literally you have an experience orbiting a greater center with an acceleration towards center at light speed. And because of that, let me make this view bigger for everyone. And so because of that, here you go, right? So if this is the center of our experience, we're orbiting, we're accelerating towards center at light speed, but we're flying tangential. And so basically reality is being stretched and crunched into experiences, okay? And so this is your now moment where everything, as you approach a spot, everything in the future is getting crunched and stretched away. But then as you leave that spot within the energy, it reverts back to normal. So right, there really is no matter or light. It's only perceived, or it's only experienced when it's perceived by a conscious entity. And so once you realize that's our field of energy, so basically this is our field of energy, and then we have experiences through it, which are related to this, right? Did you have a question? Sorry.
Shelley, did you have a question?
I thought, I'm sorry.
No,
I was just something.
I was just absorbing what he was showing here. It's, you know, seems very interesting.
It is very interesting. Those light spectrums, they're actually the frequency. The red is longer frequency and the blue is shorter one.
Right. So that's something even different. That's a different, even more different aspect, right? So I would say that's more related to actually sound. And so as an object approaches you, it's smaller, and as it leaves you, it's bigger. So it's almost like a natural vibration of the object from small to big as it goes through our perception. So in that, because things towards the center of time are denser, things towards the outside of time are less dense. And now this is our experience. So this would be a vibration within our experience that would be occurring. And so here I kind of say that's more, you know, because as you approach the future, it's smaller, and as you leave the future, it's bigger. In the past, it's bigger, right? Okay, so now that's your experience, and then we realize that, well, okay, so let me go. Oh, I already have physics of love open. Perfect. And so then you see that we have a conscious antenna. Based off of our conscious antenna is what layer of reality we start experiencing. But what I wanted to, this is the book, The Physics of Love, and I guess I'll just kind of go over that real quick, right?
Okay.
So now that we kind of understand that, now we can go into the physics of love. And we also say that at the end of that book, we realize that our experience is like a flower blossoming into the sixth dimension of experience. As we gyroscopically process through the fluid. And so the premises of this book, though, now has to do with, I'm going to do a quick stop share again, and then a new share. Here, this one. So now if you have that, so there's different types of flows of space. It's almost like our experiences are going through different turbulent regions and non-turbulent regions and things like that. And those all literally relate to vortexes of your experience when you relate that to that mind, body, spirit diagram that I was showing you earlier, where each one of these is literally a vortex created through your personal delusions that you're undergoing at that time. So I'm gonna do a stop share again. I'm gonna share the book. And so basically, you know, just to go through the book, we see that the first thing we just talked about was laminar flow. Let's see. And so laminar flow, like how would that relate? That's more of like the greatest flow of reality. That's almost like, do you get what I'm saying there when I say that?
Yeah, I believe I do. You know, people are becoming well aware of mind control these days. I was at a Christmas party and we were talking about it at the Christmas party, which I found surprising.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so that's where when it comes to like, you could even say like an amusement park, right? You kind of design the experience that people are about to have, and you design it for an 8-hour experience.
Mm-hmm.
If you're at a party, right? I don't know what kind of mind control you were talking about, but you can kind of like create experiences for people to go through, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so when it comes to like the laminar flow, what I more mean like is like literally if you compare it to a river, it's like a smooth like flowing area versus a turbulent flow where there'd be like a lot of vortexes.
Yeah, I should have realized that because I pray every day out in the creek and I watch the creek go by every day. I should have said it like a creek.
Right. And so if you consider that mind, body, spirit diagram, and then you consider like that drawing I showed you earlier, I'm just going to go to it pretty quick here. You could say that this becomes a more realistic view of reality, where you have like the greatest laminar flow, but then you have all these turbulent regions that are created by other people. And so these are like little vortexes of experience. And so when it comes to your ultimate line of sight, like how far you can actually see through time. So if you have all these little loops going on, that's literally the furthest you see into time. And so by removing personal delusions, you can see bigger and bigger flows of space. And whichever one your consciousness is literally inhabiting is what you can see. So if say, for example, I'm in that green spiral, then that's all I'll ever be able to see is that what's in the green spiral. So here's the spirals that get created. By not being in a spiral, you're going with the biggest flow of reality, almost like a floating on the river. And so when you're caught in the spirals, that's as far as you'll see. So point is that if you're in the biggest flow of reality, you can see, in quotes, the spirals of others and what they're going through. So the bigger your field of consciousness is, the more you can see into others as well.
I get it. It's almost like the person on top of the mountain can see different from the person in the valley.
Yes, exactly. And how far you down into the valley you go depends on, you could say, your level of doubt you're in, or karmic delusion, right? Versus your level of faith, where you could say, physically speaking, that you're on top of a mountain.
Wow. So your level of consciousness has everything to do with it, right?
Yeah, well, also your level of faith or confidence. How comfortable you are with your current position and your now, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're not comfortable, that means you have a lot of wants or don't wants, or you're not really connected with the greatest flow if you're not comfortable. And so I'm not saying that you're doing something wrong, but you probably still need to allow yourself to get comfortable. And that might involve a lot of different things. And so, yeah, so based off of this concept here, right, you can see that there's certain habitats within time, and that you can use your knowledge of your personal vortexes that you create to kind of bring people into the greater laminar flow of reality. If you wanted to consider that to, relate that, you call it like Reiki or healing, healing with your energy, right? Using posture control to heal other people. So that basically goes into that. But then so here I talk about how you have different postures to begin with, right? Because some people aren't really familiar that they take postures in mind. As in like, they think that, for example, you can walk around thinking that all Democrats are the best, or you can walk around thinking that all Republicans are the best, or you could always be walking around with lifelong assumptions of monetary separations, things like that. And so you can take postures in your mind, you can take postures in your body, and you can also take postures in spirit. And so by understanding how people take postures, because sometimes people don't really realize, when you first start martial arts, for example, you really don't realize how you're standing. Oh, you mean my back was out a little bit? Oh, I wasn't standing straight up. And so when you start to learn to take postures in mind, it becomes a big thing. And when you can learn to take posture in spirit, it becomes an even bigger thing, right? And so people can take postures in mind, body, and spirit. And once you understand that, and you learn to, in quotes, master, or learn to, throw an effective punch or kick, you can then use healing of your knowledge of your own mind, body, spirit diagram to walk people into those greater flows of reality. And so I call that healing through posture control, right? And so this is just a kind of a generic example of a timed amplifier, right? So like, here's like canceled pacing based on, you get what I'm saying? You canceled someone's pacing based off the energy you put out. And so what's really important about that? Like, why does that even matter? Is because when it comes to creating, and this goes back to creating from your golden spot and also quantum health of your manifestation. You could say like, this is a person that has followed the path and had never experienced a delusion or doubt once in their life, right? So they started out here in their silver spot and they drifted perfectly to the golden spot. You could say they were one with the greatest flow of reality. If you wanted to be religious, you'd say that was God. But since we're all human and we all make mistakes, right? You could say, or we all have insecurities, we suffer doubt where we're not always 100% confident. And so this would be an example of someone that would kind of have gone through doubt and different instilled delusions throughout their life, right? They're born here perfect as a child. As they age, they might have to go to school for a certain amount of years. So now they have to fulfill the delusion of school before they can actually continue to grow as a human, right? And then they get caught in this little spiral that always continues to get back at them, but it comes back and they conquer it. And so now they can continue to get to their golden spot. And some of the most challenging delusions that we all go through, right, are like, literally, like I just mentioned, like traumas from school. It's like, how many people are still traumatized by what your little friend said in school, or something that happened, a relationship you had with someone that wasn't meant to be, or a relationship that was meant to be, but that, but because someone is still out in their spiral, they haven't connected to that greater flow yet. Things like that. And so that's why it's always important to walk everyone. So now imagine we're all one being and we're all trying to evolve.
What are you trying to do to me, man?
Is that too much right there?
Yeah, you just exploded my brain.
Well, I'm just going through the physics of love. That's what I was trying to explain with Tony earlier. I'm like, dude, it's really hard to explain in like a couple sentences. That's why I'm writing like a whole book on it. Like,
I just wrapped my own mind around that, and I thought of my own self, and then you threw everybody else in there, and it just.
Well, because people are talking about like humanity ascending, right, to that next level. Like that's where we're at now, where humanity needs to ascend to that next level, and people need to understand this and why it's so important to help your friend achieve their goals or break them free of their spiral, for everyone to grow. Because literally, this has become my new line: our harmony determines our potentiality. Okay. So here's a close-up, you could say, of a delusion that someone's stuck in for a long time. Like they've been separated. And so what's important about this too is that these little fractals don't carry humanity further. And okay, now we're gonna go back to your personal life. They don't take you closer to center, and they don't allow for a creation that is long lasting. Like it doesn't allow for a crystal, in quotes, to solidify within the fifth dimension. These things all crumbles away. It's not, none of those. If you think about like a structure actually growing within the fifth dimension, these don't last long. And they're, I don't know. And so if you imagine someone creating from their golden spot at all times, you get a much different looking manifestation. Basically, you get something like this, where you're always perfectly in harmony with your center. You have your experience, you come back to center. And so what I've done lately is relate this again back to martial arts, right? Say you're boxing and you're in a match. If you throw a punch, okay, so now you're rooted, right? You're in a good stance and you throw a punch. Okay. Now, if you want to throw your next move, you don't want to necessarily throw it from being in a position of being off balanced, because you won't have any strength, you won't have any power, and it's going to be extremely ineffective. So before every move or every creation, it's important that you return back to the golden spot of your center of your manifestation, right? Kind of like we're circling back to the very beginning, what we were talking about, creating from your golden spot. And so a person creating from their golden spot has this sort of flow to them. They literally like I mean, that looks a lot. I'm not going to say one looks better than another, but I like this perfect crystal versus this thing that kind of is going to crumble away and break. Right? Yeah. So when it comes to like harmonizing and taking everyone to the next level, we all I like striving for being always at the golden spot, and whenever I create something, for it to be long lasting and everlasting, because that means that we're all on our golden path and that we're all harmonizing as one towards that greater goal. The second you start creating from a spiral of a delusion, now you're breaking off of here, you've drifted even further from harmonizing. And so once you start like breaking off of that, that's when sickness truly comes into play, because you're talking about your manifestation in relationship to your golden spot, and disease, things like that. And so too much forced infrastructure creates stress, right? That's why people are undergoing stress. Stress is the #1 cause of heart disease, and heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans in relationship to bad food and diet as well. But stress is a huge one. So but then so that goes into the next section of densities of creation. And so like basically we realize that we're being manifested from this 5th dimensional flow, and that our stillness literally creates the habitats for denser harmonics of experience. So if we're like inside, even denser experiences happen even closer. And so the atoms that create your body are undergoing conscious experiences. And what I say in the book basically here is that, to relate it to this drawing that we were going through earlier, you could say that the gold spot would be the sun almost. So like the sun creates a field that is conscious and aware. The planets are then kind of like living in the conscious field of the sun. Humans live within the conscious field of the earth. The atoms that create us live within the conscious field of us. And so there's different layers, and we are the habitats for the denser experiences. And so our stillness is what creates intelligence and allows intelligence to evolve. And so like literally there's a stillness in intelligence. And so from that, you see that the more quiet and still everyone is, the more intelligent everyone will become as well. And that leads into what I was getting at here, though, the densities of creation, and how you have a future and past life when it comes to karmic cycling of the self and the soul. And so if you want to do a true alignment, you have what I call densities of creation, where every part of your body is literally being manifested from a different orbit within the 5-dimensional vortex. But then as you have those different lives of creating from zero and always having this shape here, you basically have a crystal that's forming within your lives. So a true interdimensional alignment will create a structure like this, almost like a golden necklace, you could say, or a golden chain within the 5th dimension. And this would be like a true, beautiful interdimensional alignment. And so then I get into what we were talking about earlier, I think before we started going live, about healing bringing all of humanity up as once we realize that through posture control, you're literally being limited if you're stuck within vortexes of delusion. So it would be great to just ascend, but it's impossible for one to ascend while everyone around them is living in vortexes of delusion. And so it really comes down to human consciousness all at once, harmonizing, synchronizing, and creating more of like a chemical wave effect throughout the cosmos. There you go. So that's yeah, there you
Do
go.
you think some societies have done that in the past, like some that have disappeared?
You know, I don't know.
No, because some of them are just gone. Nobody can explain it, right?
Well, didn't that happen to the Maya? See, that's where I don't know if like the people say that like someone just was it the Mayans that all mysteriously vanished or some other
Yeah, I think it was the
cultures?
Mayans. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think. And out west, I think the Hopi or something like that. One of them.
I mean, it sounds fantastic, but once you start to understand that, like, that whole UAP thing's real, and like you truly understand that, and then you realize that you have not you, but like people have lived in instilled delusions from their entire life, and that they've never even been able to see the bigger picture, that they might start looking, and like, yeah, I've tried to remain free of delusion my entire life. So it's a challenge, but you can always peel the layers of the onion, and get to the center.
Well, I could only imagine if a group of people had all of this information and they all shared it and they all
Right.
sat around thinking about it, man. That'd be crazy if they all said, okay, let's go up to a different dimension and people here won't see us anymore. We'll enjoy ourselves.
Well, that's the thing. And how often do you really see someone else physically, right? Or do you just, I know this might be like, oh, does the animal make a noise on the other side of the planet? I don't know. But like, when it comes to actually you interacting with someone, like how often do you actually see them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because our experience is being manifested from that fifth dimensional field of energy, and it's constantly blipping in and out of solidity. And so when it comes to like in the past, the Buddha was able to teleport across a river. Why not? The only thing holding you back is people don't think they can. Yep.
Yeah,
So like,
that's what made me think before when you were saying you got to control everything. Man, you really got to control your thoughts.
every thought. Yeah. Because every thought creates a spiral within the 5D multiverse, like a vortex of delusion. So even just having a negative thought about someone is like the worst thing you can do to them, because you've literally sent them like a spiral of energy they have to deal with now.
That's why I don't hate anybody anymore.
It's hard. Yeah, it's challenging, but you realize, yeah, and like what goes around, I don't know, whatever. I'm not even gonna say anything.
I know exactly what you mean, though. I practiced it for years to be able to say I don't hate anybody.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely don't. And like the easiest way to think about it, or to have forgiveness, is to understand that we're all children, right? We're all children of the earth, and we're all always learning. And it requires unconditional love. So what, you're gonna punish a child for getting the answer right once they finally get it right? Or are you gonna actually like, maybe be upset when they're actually acting wrong, but the second they're being good, it's like, we should all harmonize again and keep moving forward. The longer grudges are being held, the longer people are stuck in vortexes of delusion, and no one can actually rise because there's so much friction within that fifth dimensional flow. So like when people say like forgiveness is divine, it's like, if you ever want to truly connect to God, or the greatest laminar flows of reality, whatever you want to call it, forgiveness is the key. Unconditional love is the key, because if you're holding that grudge, then you're stuck in a vortex of delusion that you've created that isn't real.
Wow. Yeah, you don't want to be stuck there.
No.
Definitely not. That's like a black hole.
Yeah, it is. And people suck themselves into black holes based off of, delusions or whatever. And that's so funny you mentioned that again, getting sucked into a black hole. I always call it the vortex of time. Like people get sucked into like a little vortex of time and then they come back out.
Yeah, I read a book about black holes in high school. I think it had a small effect on me.
I took a course in college. It was called Black Holes. It was one of the wildest classes. But yeah.
I bet it was. What kind of crazy stuff did you learn in there?
I mean, it was just more the math behind it all and like the theory behind it and just what they say. And what's wild about black hole. Okay, so I'm gonna circle it back to the universe isn't expanding. Well, black holes aren't really crunching either. Because like the closer let me share this book real quick, the screen share again. Because like not leave meeting. Share screen. There we go. Bang. So like the closer why is that happening? The closer you drift towards center, right? Say at the moment of the Big Bang, right here at this outer edge, we would be in the smallest. Think about the gravity you'd feel if you were orbiting a black hole or some greater object. We're accelerating towards center at light speed. This means we're basically in a black hole. So as we get closer to the center of it, energy would be getting denser and denser. But that's not what I'm trying to say. The gravitational field will becoming stronger and stronger. Right? The closer you get to center, the stronger the field of energy is. And so when you relate that to this, you see that as we drift towards the center of time, you would be experiencing a bigger crunch. And so like literally, we would be experiencing a greater stretchness and we would be experiencing a greater crunchness as we drift closer to center. And so there's a direct relationship between the size of the universe and the densest black hole that exists. And so, you know, what I'm getting at, I guess, is that like the black holes aren't really dense. That's just more of a perception thing as well. In this fifth dimensional view. Does that get right?
Yeah, it does make some sense. There's such mysterious places though, black holes. I mean, just the idea of it makes me crazy.
Right.
You know.
Well, it's just being, you know, in a field to where light doesn't escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part of it. I mean, light even can't even get out of it. It's like,
yeah, I think as humans we put too much emphasis on light because like it's really just the now moment is the light we're experiencing. This is a bad picture to even show that, but it's like literally one spot we're experiencing, and we're experiencing this line, and that's the light we see. When reality is this entire experience, the 5D multiverse of quantum manifestations, where the energy, where your physical body is literally being created by the same energy that my physical body is. And as we're all trying to like have these delusions, we're creating like these turbulences within this fluid of experience. And like, and that's where all the friction comes into play, is like through the synchronization of this energy.
So until our current delusion is solved, we're not going to get far, right?
Right, exactly. So like there needs to be like a returning of zero of sorts for that to happen, for everyone to actually grow. A returning of zero of mind, body, and spirit, right?
Right.
But being, that doesn't mean like go I did go live in the woods for 9 months, but that doesn't mean everybody needs to. It more means that like you kind of just need to like fulfill, keep going with what you're supposed to fulfill, kind of thing. Like, you know, try to avoid creating more of these things, these random spirals of delusion, and try to get closer to that center. Because once everyone reaches their golden spots, which does include acts of being, you know, it includes modern technology, it includes everything, normal. What it, in quotes, does not include is doubt, right? Doubtful actions, because those create these little vortexes and pull everyone away from center. And so, yeah, I'm not saying like skateboards are here. That's cool. No problem. But anyhow, I'm just babbling again.
Well, that's okay. That's one of my problems is doubt. And I think you're helping me with that a lot because I just get that I have to solve it myself like everything else, right?
And so that's, I think you just answered my question, or not my question, but my greatest problem is like, I need to solve it by forcing my energy to return to the golden spot. When if I were to stop trying to get at the golden spot, it's almost like you realize you're almost already there always, right? We were talking about this before we started recording. Like the first time I really ever experienced doubt was when I was like 27 or 28 years old. And I might have mentioned this last time, but it was when a friend passed, right? And so like I started worrying about other people I hadn't seen in a long time. And I was like, well, where's this? What is this karmic? So that was already an experience, right? Whenever you have a worry, it's like a little experience of delusion that you're creating within your head, that you then have to like bring yourself back to zero before you can move forward. Any thought you have. And so like worries are one of like, I don't know about worries. I try not to do those. But up until that moment, you could say I was more connected with the greater flow. But then once you get shifted from your golden spot, right, you need to actually return back to zero. And so that's where I also mentioned before that like once you're at zero, you can return to there without even having to like meditate for like 10 minutes, because you take a mental, or rather energetic spiritual picture of your mind, body, spirit state, and you just go to zero, right? The problem with living in doubt or in a vortex of doubt or a vortex of creation like that is that once you get to your zero and you let go, you'll automatically start going into that flow of that spiral. So it's, you connect to the greatest flow of reality is the ultimate goal though,
Yeah, definitely. I know what you're talking about because last month or month before that, maybe I was having some doubts, but then I decided, I should probably put those away and not worry about that stuff. And things got way better for me after that.
Right. I mean, what I like to do too is because a lot of people, I'm not going to say like I'm like a happiness expert, but when it comes to like true inner confidence and comfort, it has a lot to do with being in the golden spot, right? And like literally doubt is one of these branches. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's exactly what I was getting at, but it brought me here again. And you realize that like once you just like doubts in your mind, and once you that's what I was getting at. There's really two directions in life if you can really walk, and that's towards like your happiness or away from your happiness. And for some reason, people get caught up in their minds and unknowingly walk away from happiness all the time. Does that make?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing it right now. Go ahead.
No, that's basically what I was trying to get at, is that there's like essentially when you want to think of like directions in life and places you can go, in our physical 3D space, we go up, down, left, right. You could say when it comes to choices of experience and happiness, there's two directions, right? You can go towards more turbulent and unhappy experiences, or you can go towards happier experiences. And by removal of doubt, you literally walk towards happier experiences.
Yeah, and your laminar flow is smoother, right?
And the flow is laminar, and what does that translate? It translates into a really cool living life of awesome golden manifestation, right? So like where everything is just beautiful. And at this, when you're like this, you can almost say that life is a dream,
You're right. You're right,
Yeah.
because I was describing an experience on the Leak project today where I found these 2 stone tools. And it was like that day. I was like in that flow and everything was beautiful.
Yep. That's kind of the point, is creating from zero, creating from your golden spot, always returning to zero. After every punch, in quotes, like in martial arts, you return to a rooted position. After every action that you do, even a thought, before you walk, before you make a physical motion, if you make a physical motion with a negative thought in your mind, you're walking away from happiness. That's the easiest way to put it.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't even want to make like a motion with a bad thought in mind. You know?
Yeah.
Or in the wrong spiritual state. Or
have the wrong job.
I mean, it's hard to even, because now you have to have a job to live in society, right? Like, so I talk about that in the book, The Liquid Light State Universe, how just the structure of everything doesn't allow people to ever really truly be happy. But
Oh, what if that got what if we did away with that and we actually had the Nasera Jacera come in? Then we could probably get to some kind of ascension then, don't you think?
I don't know what do you mean by Jacera? What's
Well,
that?
the government's supposed to change. Nasera Jacera is the National Economic Reformation Security Act, and they're supposed to give us all millions of dollars that they're taking from the people who are not so nice to us right now. And they're taking it from them and they're going to give it to us. And it's kind of like in the Bible says, the meek shall inherit the earth. I think that's going to happen. Do you think we'll be able to ascend from there up to 5D?
I don't really think money is the answer, honestly.
No, I know what you mean. But if we didn't have to worry about it no more, wouldn't we be free to think about stuff like this?
Yes. You're absolutely correct in that sense.
Because nobody would have to go to work.
Right. And it's not necessarily that people wouldn't have to go to work. It's more that they wouldn't be worried about eating food the next day. They wouldn't be worried about because stress is a worry, and worry is a delusion, and a delusion is a spiral. It's a vortex in time that you've now removed yourself from the greater laminar flow and you're not evolving. And that's the state of society.
Yeah, so the people that keep us here know all this stuff, don't you think?
See, that's where now there's natural progress and natural evolution of societies and structures, and I even write about this in the philosophical discussions, and I called it a shift in natural selection. Here, I'll show you real quick. But I don't think it's on purpose. I think it's through good intentions, but it's like, here, let me find that page exactly, and I'll read it to you. But so this is called a shift in natural selection, and it's one of the philosophical discussions from the original Your Influence in Space. So this is original writing from 2014. And this is why I've been doing everything I have been doing. But basically, let's see, where exactly is it? Oh, come on. So I'll just go through it real quick. Basically, it talks about like the natural focus of humanity.
Mhm.
So how you could say, like, I'm just going through what's scientific view, right? So we evolved from monkeys. We used to scurry in bushes, right? That's what science is telling us. So at that, as we evolved into humans, there was a point like where we still didn't have math and we still didn't have things like that. But the concept is, technology started to blossom, right? And so because of that, we were able to create leisure time, right? And so basically technology blossoms and we're able to create leisure time to start doing different things that we, as humans, like normally wouldn't have had the luxury, we wouldn't have had the free will or time to even do or think about because we were just living, right? So our technology allowed us to basically, you could say, conquer nature in order to give us free time to be thinking beings, cognitive thought beings with the ability to ponder and kind of just make stuff up. And so then it goes basically into this. So what does technology do for us? It creates leisure time. And then I say leisure time can be a blessing or a curse. What people choose can either be constructive or destructive. Then I say constructive activities, including building relationships, long-lasting bonds, helping others, and ensuring the survival of the earth, but the universe. Destructive would be like fighting, violence. And then I talk about, let me just get straight to the point. Basically, we're at a point where money equals food.
Mhm.
And because of that, there's been a shift in the human spirit, because all of these, basically technology has given us free time to create man-made infrastructures, which ultimately create wealth and disparities. For example, monetary systems, schools, government programs such as Social Security, transportation systems, media, communications, all this stuff, power grids, waste disposal, all of those could be considered a man-made infrastructure of some sort, right?
Mhm.
And what I'm saying is that every one of those systems was designed to create more free time. Money made trade easier. Schools made becoming educated easier. But over a long time, over hundreds of generations, it becomes destructive, because all these obligations now are forced upon all of humanity. And if you don't live up to those infrastructures that have been created by other people's fractals of their delusion and experience in different times, then you'll be regarded as a bum, literally, like, or a quack. Like you don't, and that's where social shaming comes into play, where literally if you don't follow mainstream thinking, you get outcasted. For example, if you think UFOs are real, right? You're a loony back in the day. Now the government says they're real. So it's like, okay, people, maybe you should stop listening to the projected view of media of reality and actually look at reality. Actually trust your neighbors. When people are speaking to you, listen to them. But so then, it goes into like, basically now it becomes obvious that through the creation of leisure time, forced infrastructures now control our lives. Even before you're born, you have to be born into a hospital. If you're not born into a hospital, what you did something wrong. You were a bad parent because you didn't take your kid to the hospital to be born. I don't say that in here, but like I'm ranting a little bit extra. You grow up, you have to go to school, right? If you don't go to school, you did wrong. You have to get a job, you have to get married, you're supposed to have children. And so when you don't live up to these, in quote, successes that you're supposed to strive for, it kind of makes you think that you're not like a good person, because you weren't able to like achieve what society has taught you to think you're supposed to. And so that's like a delusion. Like the whole thing is just like made up to begin with. And so I say it has a dramatic effect on the human spirit, and it has a direct negative effect on the way people treat each other. And that also relates into being more scientific versus being more religious, ultimately, because now that we're all focused on money and living up to, you could say, forced infrastructure, we no longer care so much about the person next to you because we care too much about the structure, right?
Mhm.
And so it goes into basically science versus faith. And I'm not saying science is bad, but basically in a scientific view, there's no room for faith, right? Because everything needs to be provable. You need to touch, test, taste, and smell it. But the problem with that is that like every time you have an expectation in your mind, a scientist will always find what it's looking for. You have a delusional person out there looking for something, and they're going to find it, because like when you find your stone tools, you want to find your stone tool.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I mean,
And I
you
found,
always find what you're looking for.
yeah.
And so now these concepts now rule the human spirit and having an overall negative impact on the quality of human life. So I basically say here that strides towards earlier methods are of great importance. Earlier methods of natural selection, right? Because now our mate selection is dependent on who can be the nastiest person almost, right? Because money equals success, and mate selection is focused towards money. And so it's like, at the end of the day, it's like our spirit is evolving to be more of an angry one, more of one that cares about itself versus one that cares about the other person. And so I'm saying that strides towards earlier methods of natural selection are of great importance. However, it's important to carry out the positive results of the last 100 generations. the amount of time we've been controlled by money. And so basically, at the end of it, I say a new spirit will emerge. That's what's happening there. One that learns to combine the original spiritual state of the human with modern technology, infrastructure, and thinking, right? So it's combining science with religion for that new spirit to emerge. And I believe this is that time when it comes to reality and stuff like that, because ultimately I'd say this is the age of Aquarius. We've entered it. Jesus, ushered in the age of the fish, right? And spread love throughout the planet. And you can see now there's just light workers all over the planet. And they're ushering in the age of Aquarius. That's what's happening. So I find it to be like super interesting, especially when you consider those 2,000-year-long cycles of things like that in relationship to that fifth dimensional orbit and that golden chain we were talking about of reincarnated beings.
Yeah, I think definitely we're getting help in our ascension from other realms that we cannot see right now. I've been listening to this POD album, Payable on Death. You ever listen to them?
No, I don't know who anyone is.
Don't? Oh man. What kind of music do you like, Alexei?
Honestly, like I don't know who anyone is. I play my own music.
Oh,
Yeah, no, this surprises people. I've never read a book in my life. And I've only memorized other people's piano songs like Mozart, Beethoven, because when I was a kid, I was in piano class and I had to learn those songs. But as far as like buying an album or buying music or like what radio station, I don't listen to music when I drive. I listen to the road. I listen to the earth. I've never I've bought like two or three CDs in my life. I've had friends burn CDs for me and say, "Oh, you're gonna love this Megadeth, or you're gonna love this like super hip funkster music." Or I'm like, okay, I just don't listen to anything.
well, that's really cool though that you can make your own music like that and you don't have to listen to other people's music.
Yeah, well, I find so that's where it's like music when it comes to those vortexes of time and everything. Music's one of the greatest, in quotes, manipulators of the body. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it can be very good. Music and sound vibration is very good. But when you're driving on the road and you listen to people like with their music like really, really high and stuff like that, it's so much distortion just going through like the field of energy.
Yeah. I get it. The way you describe things now, I think I know where you're coming from. It's like you can download things. You don't need to read books and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, growing up in school, it was always like, what does the smartest person in the class think the answer is?
Yeah. That must have been a cool skill to have.
It's good. It's good and bad. Yep.
I've never been able to do anything like that. So, but I do get like, I know things are going to happen. It's hard to describe being able to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really hard. Really hard. And I've had like a spiritual awakening through great personal pain. I had a what they call a Kundalini awakening. I just woke up in the middle of the night after I was suffering this great loss. And I just wrote a big paper about love. It just flowed out of me like somebody hit a switch and I was talking about love.
That's awesome.
Weird.
Do you have that paper on your you have a page, right? Where you have all your work that you put up? Like
I have the paper. On Telegram, my public Telegram. I just haven't posted it yet. I haven't published it yet, but I plan to.
Right. Yeah, no, I've got another random thing I could bring up right now too, if you want to.
Sure.
Keep going for a little bit. But so I've been the book is one tool that I've created in order to spread the message of world peace and harmony, right? But then I also mentioned that I play the piano, and so I've been working on like a 45-minute long piano song. Not one song, but a series of piano music. Like basically goes through the book, but also speaks on different concepts of oneness and whatnot. And I am so just while we're out live, I am looking for sponsors. If they want to help me with that, and so one mission that I've done to actually help start raising funding for that is, we talked about this last time. So I also invented the skateboard, right?
Hmm.
And when I was first doing and just so everyone has the background, when I was first doing everything, I was a student in school. I invented a skateboard that had built-in storage, and my professor really liked it, and so I got a patent on it. And then the university connected me to the University of South Florida, connected me to the National Academy of Inventors, as well as the United States Patent and Trademark Office and the Smithsonian. And so I started doing lectures, at the Smithsonian museums. I've done 3 times now at the Ripley Center, the Air and Space, and the Museum of American History. And then I've also lectured at like the local high schools, colleges, middle schools, and libraries, and go to their innovation events and hang out with their kids and stuff. But so because I was doing all of that kind of work, I turned my skateboard into a cartoon character that goes on adventures with me. And so here is let me see, this will be a better one. So this is this is Ollie. He is a skateboard that is a briefcase, and he goes on adventures with me, Lucius, in cartoon form, promoting innovation, education, and sustainability. And so those cartoons, you can Google them. They're Ollie the Skate Case cartoons. And what I'm getting at, though, is that this is his board game.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, thank you. You go from island to island. You end up on the moon. You spin the wheel as the dice. And like I said, all the parts come inside for the board game, as well as the coloring book. But as far as raising capital, specifically for the mission of oneness, world peace, you could say global ascension, I'm launching a NFT campaign. Have you heard of NFTs?
Yeah, non-fungible tokens.
Exactly. And so part of that whole series, I've self-funded my entire mission the entire time. And one of the jobs I had, I was an after-school martial arts instructor. And so I'd pick up kids from school and take them to the martial arts academy, and then help them with their homework, and then teach them Taekwondo. Over the weekends at that academy, they have like Nerf war camps and things like that. And so I started hosting Looshes Labs innovation workshops, and I was teaching the kids how to make 3D models and video games. And so then during those, we started making what we called Ollie Man playing cards, right? So this is a Lucius Labs Ollie Man card. that one's not appropriate. This is actually like the rarest card there is. That's me partying at a jet hangar. But those are all right there. But here, so this is basically a good example, right? The karate student from the karate martial arts advantage. So from the karate. But so then there's also like the kindergarten teacher, right? Lucas 11 is my my brother-in-law, actually. So he was a good friend from high school, and then my brother ended up marrying his sister, but like really randomly later on in life, like they didn't even know each other ever, and kind of thing. And so he's on my t-shirt right now. A little shout out to Lucas. But yeah, so that's the people that's, because it's all about like your golden spot, right? And the people that really create you, and being in harmony with those people, because that's how we all grow as one bigger being, is when we're harmonizing with. And so like earlier, Shelley was asking if I can feel other people, and if I'm always kind of like sensitive of other people. I am very sensitive of other people, and like the more indicators of those people that are around, the more sensitive you can be of them as well, for me at least. But just to keep going with this, basically, a fish in the grass. We ended up making like hundreds of characters. And so NFTs are big, and these are like a playing card game. So I want to do a share screen.
Okay.
Let me go to, well, I'm just going to go to my personal website, actually. That'll be better.
Yeah, and I'll put links in the show notes, guys.
Cool. So here, back to that, share screen. So this is my, let me do a refresh. So when you come here, basically you can see that board was on display at the Smithsonian's Air and Space. Here's from the Air and Space. This is Fitzgerald Elementary School, Museum of American History, and Museum of American History. And then when I made the statue that now sits in front of USF's Innovation Center. But basically, what's really cool is I gave a lecture at let me see, this event right here.
Mhm.
And I didn't really fully have my theory fully developed at the time. But basically, I was saying, you know, is there a difference between matter and light, or is that a result of your frame of motion? But during that lecture, it was for Fitzgerald Elementary School's opening STEM night.
Mhm.
And I went up and I started talking about like science, technology, but how like the true innovators within those fields thought outside the box and really, really moved and progressed people forward. And how like, if you're gonna actually like progress humanity in a great way, you will most likely be called crazy and potentially locked in jail. And I talked specifically about Galileo, right? And how he like, you know, told everyone, no, we don't go around the sun. Or I mean, the sun doesn't go around us, we go around the sun. And I told them that before I fully developed my book. And now I'm here saying, no, the universe doesn't expand. Perceptions are being stretched and crunched, you know? So it's like, I just find that interesting. So, but here, basically, this is, so if you go to the Looshes Lab site, you can go to the Ollie-Man NFT series, and these are non-fungible tokens. I forget the thing, but they're pretty awesome. And basically, they're based off of the characters. And so you can see I have them all up for sale. I just released this batch yesterday, so there's only a few owners, if even. I forget exactly. But this will support that music tour and mission to cross, basically. So this is an example. This is Ollie on the Slopes. So there's rarity based off of the groove and the steez, which are their health and damage points, the types of characters, and then the number of them. So basically you can see there's 50 of this one. And because there's 50 of this one, I made it really, really cheap, like $2 kind of thing. And that's because if some people might not want to spend a lot, but they still want to be, still want to support, they could still get one of them. But then I have some that are more and more rare, and I only made 2 of them total. For example, where is it? Well, Super T in Space is a cool, and that's my nephew. But so basically I have made all these NFT, and the idea is that these will help fund the mission as well. So I just wanted to share that real quick to not get too far into it. But that relates to, let's take me back. Let's see. To everything we're working on here as far as the raising consciousness as a collective. So that's kind of what that goes towards.
Well, it's really interesting. People are going to like that.
Yeah, I think I just need to get the word out there and let them know what's going on. And a lot of people like basically have these NFT platforms and projects. I'm not downplaying their projects, but they're kind of just like randomly putting art out there. And there's no real purpose or greater purpose to it. They're just trying to make money. What I like about Chris Lato, he's also releasing an NFT project, and his is 100% geared towards UAP investigation and technologies. So basically, his work is going to help humanity. I think that's awesome, right? Yeah. And so what I'm saying is that the goal of my work would also be to help the greater good, get the message of world peace out there, how we can all connect to the greatest laminar flows of reality, how our collective, that's literally what I have on the top here in quotes as my first line. Our harmony determines our potentiality. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like our harmony is our potentiality.
Yeah, and that's so hard to achieve today.
Yeah. But so just for the kids or for anyone else, if has kids, if you go to the kids zone, you can see right here, I have Ollie Blaster. This was one of the games I made as like a silly, is this opening up? Can you see a video game right now?
Yeah, it's playing.
Okay. Yeah. So there's 4 different game modes for Ollie Blaster. This one, basically, you just have to shoot the green star, but it gets more and more challenging.
Mm.
And one thing that I wanted to do when I made Ollie Blaster, because these are tools, right? So the whole skateboard thing and Ollie, the skate case, is a whole cartoon series that I'm trying to get out there, almost like a Dora Explorer kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, there's different game modes. And let's see if I can get to one of those other ones. There we go. It's working. And the idea was there's no instructions because people are naturally intuitive. So you help develop the intuition by not giving instructions.
Wow. What a
Right?
concept.
Yeah. So just a different style of thinking. So that's something I've kind of created there. But then I wanted to, so that's that. But then if you go to here, you can see skate case, and you can see that I have the skate case site here. And I have, skate case. I have an electric model. I have a regular model. I guess I'll do the quick, share on that so people can see it. But basically,
Sure.
the electric one's awesome. It does all that. But the Ollie World board game, basically, again, if you wanted to, you could play it here with your kids.
That's great. The whole family could join in then?
Yeah, it's my buddy doing a cat rap. It goes away.
Cat rap. That's funny. I think I've heard a cat picture going around the internet, Of a stupid cat meme.
That down. But yeah, he's the one that's making the Bufoscope song to go along with the interdimensional telescope concept in the tour. But basically, yeah, so this is like the board game. You can literally play on the computer with the different characters and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And if you like run into that guy, you get stuck, doing all that or whatever. But yeah, now I'm kind of just like going off on a tangent. I really don't know what I was doing.
Well, kids need stuff like this. I think it's great.
Yeah, so then here on tour, this is what I'm talking about. Our mission truly is world peace. And so here I show the shifted natural selection. Actually, the section in the book that we were talking about earlier, I have it here read word for word, the shifted natural selection. And then here is create a series of piano songs where I'm sitting with my piano with the book talking about what I would like to move in the mission there. So yeah, that's like, there you go. That's what I've been doing.
So this is all brand new stuff you've done since we last talked, huh?
Oh, I turned the volume down. Sorry,
Oh.
I turned the volume. I couldn't hear anything just now because I turned it down for that cat rap song.
That's all stuff that you've done since we spoke last time, right?
No. Well, I mean, the NFTs are brand new since we spoke last time.
Okay.
Yeah. I have been working on the piano songs for a very long time.
I should listen to more piano music. I don't know what's wrong with me. I fell in love with Pink Floyd and something went happen to me,
Yeah, I think it's great to listen to music. Oh, that music. I was saying that earlier. I don't listen to music, but like music can harmonize. It can create like a good vibe. But what I meant more is like it's great to actually like listen to the inner music that you feel, and then try to recreate that. Is also very, even if it's just like, that's why I think drum circles are good, because it doesn't require years and years of training. You can just literally sit in on a drum circle, no problem. Kind of cool.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get a drum for myself for my water prayers.
Yep.
I should get one. I had a weird experience last week. I was out back. I was just about to do my water prayers, and I had my camouflage hunter's coat on. I don't hunt or anything, but a hunter walked by with his bow and arrow, and he says, "Oh, you're hunting? How's the hunting out here?" And I said, "No, I'm praying." And he didn't want to hear about praying. He said, "Oh," and he just walked away after I said that. He didn't want to discuss God.
Well, God has even to use the word God already throws some people in a loop.
Oh God.
That was funny.
Oh God. Some of them parts of that movie were filmed right here in Buffalo.
What, is that a movie?
Oh God, yeah, it's a movie.
Like I said, I'm pretty illiterate.
That's cool. I like that. I admire that because I had to sit through every bad Hollywood movie made from the 60s till now. Well, till I gave it up.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like, I've actually, what was I gonna say? I've watched a lot of Netflix and stuff like that, and it's easy to see like, what what's going on there.
Yeah, I'll say there's
Yeah.
something going on you don't want to know, but there's something going on. Some bad vortexes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I find it extremely, extremely interesting for the Matrix to be coming out on 12/22/21.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about that.
Are they? And can
Yes.
you tell me what people think? I haven't heard anyone else talk about that yet or anything like that.
Well, the theory is that the White Hats took over MJ12, Magic 12, which is the group of super whatever you call it that was formed to deal with UFOs in 1947 after Roswell. This group called MJ12 formed, and it was mostly not good people that weren't real nice. So those people got overtaken sometime back in the 50s or 60s. They got infiltrated so nobody would notice that there was good people in there. And those people started red pilling us with movies. Like when I was 9 years old, I went to see 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it exploded my consciousness. And I knew that we weren't monkeys, you know.
Yeah,
So
you
that's
mentioned
the
that the other
theory.
day. Yeah.
That's the theory with the movie, that it's going to have all kinds of red pilling information in it. We're not sure because we haven't seen it yet, but I think it's true. I think they're red pilling us.
What type of red pilling information would you say?
Revealing the Matrix.
So as far as my awareness of the movie, I've seen the 2.5 minute trailer that's out. And from what I saw, it was like Neo saying, I need to have faith that she can, what was that? That, I don't know, crazy light outside there, but there's nothing that should be there. But basically, that she is the one that will, so like Neo's like, I need to have faith that she will free herself from the Matrix.
That's what we're doing. I think the White Hats are behind the scenes helping us with that. I think it's happening in the news and everything. Is slowly but surely all these people that are they're totally brainwashed are going to be unbrainwashed. I think that's what's happening.
Right. I've always, so like, I think I don't know if I mentioned this with you last time about a body in quotes coming next to our universe in the year 2012, right? And how it tugged on it and created a giant vortex of delusion that we've all been undergoing. Doubt, you could say a vortex in time, like a doubtful spiral for the last 10 years. And we just recently hit the laminar flow again because we're drifting now. So since we got tugged out into doubt, we've been going through, let me just do the screen share.
Okay.
Yeah, so that way I'm not just like pointing and twisting my fingers. But basically, as we were orbiting here in our smooth beta universe, our waking flowy universe, another body passed by in the year 2012 and tugged our entire experience into a vortex of time, essentially, but not necessarily like that, more just like a pacing motion. Like, and as we like pace back to zero, we have like a Fibonacciing through this flow. And so when you get tugged out, literally you will experience a turbulent flow. And what does that mean? It comes down to a conscious experience. Literally, when you get tugged out, you will have a turbulent conscious experience. And when it comes to the 5D multiverse of experiences, everyone, and light can spray and light can array. And so you could say that there was a divergent of experiences to where it was like a divergent vortex of turbulence, and we are now pacing back towards a convergent moment. And that was like the laminar flow that happened early this year, 2/21/2021, as well as but that's where then it started, and now we're drifting in through it. And so like I think center point basically is what I'm getting at, is related to this pretty big. And center point being 12/20, 12/22/21 would be center point. And so that comes down to the greatest laminar flow and the greatest removal of a delusion. And right now, I think that a lot of those delusions got instilled. And so there's going to be a pretty big, you could say, red pill moment. And it's just so interesting that they would be releasing media the same day.
Yeah, I had a strange experience in 2016. Instead of worrying about what was going to happen on election day that year, which was very, very tumultuous that year, I went to see Dr. Strange, and I felt great that day.
Right. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And what I guess just before I stop sharing the screen, just to finish off what we were talking about, this center point here. So like if we got tugged out this day, we would be at maximum inwardness on 12/29. So sorry, June 21st, 2029 will be maximum inwardness here. And so when it comes to a potential, you could say, jumping of shells of the entire experience of some sort, that would be like a day to remember.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing, Alexei.
that's just, I don't know if it's real. No, I'm pretty confident though in things that are happening.
Well, I heard something last year. I used to follow this YouTube channel that does like Bible stuff. They tried to use the Bible to figure out when Jesus would come back, and that's the year they pegged right there, 2029.
Yeah, it's probably going to be, I said it somewhere else. I think I might not have been on a podcast, but I said it on a phone call with a guy, and I was like, the Great Pyramids of Egypt is going to be very interesting. That's the spot to be. June 21st, 2029. I'm throwing a party at the Great Pyramids of Egypt. That's where I want to be. Like, seriously, I'm going to throw a party there.
Wow.
But, yeah.
Maybe I can join you.
Yeah, I invite everyone to come with me, because call it like my Looshes Labs great big party. No, for some reason, like I feel like it'll be, and I've already mentioned it to some friends, and like we've never been to Egypt. We might as well just kind of like, save up and go for a trip to Egypt, and it might as well be on a fun day. See what happens.
Yeah, I'd love to do something like that. Elena Danan talks about Egypt a lot. She talks with the star races. Do you know about her?
No, and that's where I don't know anything about like the different, I don't know any of the different races, and what can you like talk about that a little bit, so I can a little more. Yeah.
She talks about all the star races, and I guess you'd have to go watch all of her channels, all of her videos. But I believe that she really is talking to the star races, and they're working with the white hats to remove the dark forces on this planet right now. So I think that's something we should all believe in, though, don't you? Wouldn't it help? Wouldn't it help manifest it and get this thing going faster?
Well, what do you mean by like
I mean, I'm not saying all aliens are good or anything like that. And we probably shouldn't even be calling them aliens. Maybe we should change the name and like call them higher beings or something like that. I'm getting a phone call. I'm sorry. That was my son. I just hung up on him.
Oh, well, if you need to send him a text or something, let him know you're okay.
He's all right. He's at work.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, it's so weird to say alien, right? That doesn't make any sense to me, because it's really, we are all one. We are literally all one. And now it's so hard to describe, but like when you finally see what I'm talking about here, you guys will see it. I'm doing a screen share, but because they're talking about like the realms of experience. People talk about the different dimensions and where the beings come from and stuff like that. And literally, our energy, our experience is right here in this point of view, in the
Mhm.
center spot, but we're being manifested from this entire line of sight, right? And
Mhm.
so when a being is here or exists here, we're being manifest. Their intelligence, their ability to even harmonize is dependent on our inner harmony. So like we are the fluid of time for the denser experiences. And so when it comes to like these beings from a thicker dimension, they are us, we are them, and we are all one. And so like the beings that are coming out are ones that are coming out of the evolution that's been created through the temporary stillnesses that we create, is what I like, the way I like to see it. Because every time you have a second of stillness, it relates to, you know, different amounts of time within other dimensions. And so like 1 second of perfect stillness within our dimension relates to 1 hour and 1 minute in a dimension inward. 2 dimension inward, 185 days, 3 dimensions inward, 2029 years, you know. And so then right, so then you relate that to the whole like, oh, Jesus comes back every 2000 years, there you go. I just think it's super interesting how 1 second of time, you know, like, so our stillness creates evolution within other realities. So to say that like they're a being from another, or like something that's not us, or for anything that, it just gets so hard to describe, but because it is us, you know, we're all one.
I see what you mean. That's the best explanation I've heard of it. And we should really start calling them higher beings.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They're projections of our stillness. And that's where it really comes back full circle to the concept of the Indian stupa, which I heard about on like a random moment at one point. Are you familiar with the stupas?
Not really.
But basically how your stillness creates, you can create like a physical being with your thought through stillness. And it's like our stillness creates the habitats for denser harmonics to evolve to literally 1 second of stillness. They can have, what was the next one? So after 2029 years, 8.1 million years. If you have 1 second of like perfect stillness, you can have potentially 130 trillion years of conscious evolution happening, to where those beings would be able to create technologies to come back into our time. It's just so wild when you think about how it's all related and it's all a quantum field of energy. Yeah, and so
Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, I mean I was kind of done there, I guess, for a second.
That's really crazy because on my first big UFO sighting on the last night, and when it sent the orange probes into the water, I wasn't even sure if those were actual craft or those were just the beings using their consciousness to go into the lake.
Right.
You know, because I saw the orange things, but they were only about this big. They were only about 3 feet, about the size of a beach ball. And my friend that I was with, who does not want to be identified, so I gotta hide their identity. They're the ones that were braver than me. They went up to the water and they said that there was a little creature about this big driving those orange things. And I don't know if there was an actual craft there or not, because I wasn't there to see the being being seen. But I'm just wondering if they were just sending their consciousness outside the ship.
Well, so you really don't even have to move to travel through dimensions, right? Like the craft can just literally be a room that travels through dimensions and space-time.
Wow. That's crazy, because the craft I saw, I never actually saw it move. A lot of people have UFO sightings. It did this or that. I saw it parked over Lake Erie whenever I saw it. And I came and I saw it, it was there. And when I left, it was there.
Right. Yeah, well, a lot of them, like, they don't really move through space. When you understand those dimensions of density, like that vortex of time, and that the beings are in a denser harmonic, they're not coming out from different, they're literally coming out of matter, because denser experiences are towards the center. Like literally a black hole is almost like the closest to the center of time, but all of our black holes are connected to the center of time. That all the black holes that we see in our physical experience, and so it's like the dimension of conscious density, where the stretchness and the crunchness depends on how close you are to the center. And so like when it comes to beings coming into our manifestation, they're expanding space and coming into our field of view. And so they don't actually ever have to move necessarily. They more just like expand into our time from a denser experience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because a lot of people report going on board UFOs, and the UFO will appear much bigger inside than it is outside.
Right? Yeah. Space is very stretchy. And as you stretch it, layers unravel within it. Yeah. Hence the fractal nature of reality, right? Like literally the 1/4 stretch space spin stretch ratio.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's in the book too. The infinite pool of experience and awareness, where I designed the interdimensional telescope. But that whole concept, though, pretty sure it gets applied in ancient technologies, and that's why they have magic squares associated with the ancient sites, and they're all located at energetic vortices. I would say that they're all acting as portals, or maybe not all of them, but some of them could be acting as portals or interdimensional telescopes. So like a portal of conscious density is an interdimensional telescope, is an expanded light state. It's all the same thing. It's properly twirling and crunching space to meet at a point, or having a point stretch and expand outward, right? So magnetic fields of Earth do that. And when you have collimators, meaning a metamaterial or some type of dense structure, it will guide the fluid of time, meaning the magnetic fields of density and creation, to create 4:1 stretch ratios that will harmonize with your consciousness. So, and then you have the dude, what was the guy's name who had the UFO experience in the woods, and he ended up writing a whole bunch of zeros and ones binary code?
Oh yeah, that was the sighting right after mine in 1980. It was Rendlesham Forest incident.
Exactly. In the Rendlesham Forest incident, where the guy writes out binary code, and the binary code data, I mean, if you want to like jump in here, so I'm not the only one talking about, like, what I'm saying, like
yeah, they gave us a message.
Do you remember what the message said?
It said, it talked about the future, and that we gotta not blow ourselves up and stuff like that.
Right. I guess there was it did say stuff like that, but then one part of it was very specific, was progress of humanity. And it gave out a whole bunch of coordinate systems, latitudes and longitudes. And those latitude and longitude spots were literally the magnetic hot spots of the Earth, where all those ancient structures are. Right? It's kind of like a big clue. Progress of humanity is at magnetic hotspots, where magnetic vortices literally crunch and stretch space-time to create 4:1 stretch ratios for interdimensional travel.
Wow, is that where they put the grid of like pyramids? Because there's pyramids all over the Earth, right?
Yes, exactly.
Because I heard some are about to be disclosed, and they're in places that they were hidden, so they're going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, and they're probably just hidden with natural growth and vegetation, right?
Yeah, and they're on private land too. That helps.
Right.
And then you got Google scrubbing everything. Our friends at Google, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
They love us so much.
They help me with my searches and my emails and stuff.
Oh yeah, we love Google. Our money funders. Rex Bear calls them the MFers, the money funders. He calls them MFers for sure. I think that's pretty funny. Well, we've had a pretty good show. You got any parting words here, Alexei?
No, just everyone enjoy their day. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to us babble, and
this is awesome.
Yeah, it's been a wealth of information. My head is spinning.
Do you have any questions that you want to ask based off that information? I guess I know it's a lot, And it took me a while to process myself, to write it all out. But
At this time, no, I would have to take it in again, to be honest with you.
yeah, no, it's a lot to take in. I understand. Yeah.
Okay, I really don't have any questions. I just want to get your book and read it.
Cool.
So I think that'll answer all my questions.
I have them all read word for word for free on the YouTube.
Uh-huh.
But for people that are watching, I might as well do one more share screen, let them know how to get it. Basically, you go to the Looshes Labs website, and you can see on the bottom here, I have Shop Looshes, and I kept it really simple, but I have all the books right there. The Infinite Pool of Experience and Awareness is the hardback anthology that includes the entire series, which is these 5 books, and it also includes the book of poetry, Lucius poetry, and the section of philosophical discussions. So that has a little bit more in it. And then if you also, if you're interested in the theory a little bit more, what I have here on the very top tab is the 5D multiverse. So if you click there, it'll take you to basically the theory written out. And then also YouTube video where I talk about the theory real quick. And then I also have a link here that's podcast links that shows all the different podcasts that I have been on that discuss this. For example, the one that we did the other day is at the very bottom here. So I'll have this one up there as well, coming up soon. So definitely a lot of information there for people. And like I said, I have all the books read word for word for free on my YouTube. So there's no obligation or anything, but if you guys want to support, personally right now, the best way to support is to go check out the NFT collection on OpenSea and pick up one of these NFTs. The cheapest ones I have are going for $20. I have one that's going for over 3,000. Let me see if I can find it real quick. The Funky Ant, for example. I only made 2 of them, but I have, because of that, and it's a very rare card, I have it set for about 3,000. But what I kind of want to throw in too is I'm very appreciative of this. And so what I've also done is create a token called the Loosh token. So if you go to here, you see Loosh token and NFT. So basically for anyone that spends, I could say over $1,000 on NFT on my platform there, I'll send you some Loosh. And it's a token. It's basically like virtual flowers, virtual love at this time. But I do plan on using that token, raising profits behind it, and then eventually using it to pay for people that own it can use it to buy my products, as well as go on trips to this right here. This is called the Gravity Man. And this is an entire page that I'm developing. And basically, let me just go back 1 second here. You can see on the bottom, it says, here we use knowledge from the infinite pool of experience and awareness to build interdimensional and faster than light technologies, right? So if you come here, you can see that we have the homepage and just like social media platforms where I've been talking about my theories on, interdimensional travel and consciousness and things like that. But the unveiling, basically, I've gone over different designs and I'm interested in building. So I have the interdimensional telescope patent pending, and I'm looking for sponsors. So if you're watching this video, and you want to sponsor the Gravity Man project, you can do that. But that should actually progress humanity to new heights, So
yeah, that's why we're here.
There we go.
That's why we're here.
That's what I'm working on, right? So the 5D multiverse with the Gravity Man in combination with the tokens to raise some cash. And then as far as helping the youth, the cartoon series right here, that I've had it, it's grown out very organically, you could say, from the Martial Arts Academy. And it took 8 years, nine years, but it's been on display at the Smithsonian's Museum of American History now. So hopefully one day I can actually make this legitimate series where like it's on Netflix or something of that nature.
Mhm.
That's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah, that's great. I think people will love all that stuff, you know, and we need stuff that's not full of bad signs or bad symbols or, you know, things like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say science is bad. I love science,
No,
but
I
like,
mean, you know what I mean. Bad
well,
things
like,
that people put in there for bad intent.
right, of course. I see the more of like the hidden arts science of delusional manipulation, you could say.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, we need stuff free of all that. Definitely. Well,
yeah,
go ahead if you want to give any last words, Alexei.
no, I mean that was pretty much it. I just wanted to do the quick like shout out. If you want to support my work, this is how you do it. I've been keeping very quiet. I guess you heard my last words, right?
Okay.
I've been keeping very quiet, and I was using the skateboard as a tool to promote the message of world peace and oneness, and how we should all could be, of how we can, not should, it's choice, of how we can connect to a greater awareness and experience. But it was pretty indirect, right? So I feel like with what I'm doing now, it's much more direct, and I intend to be much more direct as well, and get my information out there, because I kind of sat back. What I was getting at is I went to that point where I realized my work had a lot of effect on reality, and I wanted to make sure that I was everything that I created as an artist, and as you know, we're all artists and we all create. Everything we create needs to be from that point of zero. And I had experienced such a strong doubt with my friend passing, all that I was shifted from a point of zero and a point of true creation of harmony, to where everything that I was creating, it's not like it was a bad thing, but it wasn't a lasting thing. And I feel like just everybody should, you know, become more aware of where you are in life right now, why you are where you are, right? And make sure, like, when you have those two directions of, you could say, either towards doubt or towards faith, you know, do your best to walk towards faith. And if you see someone spiraling in a delusional cycle of doubt, use your knowledge of the mind, body, spirit postures to grab them, harmonize with them, and help walk them into the laminar flows of reality. Our harmony, you know, our potentiality is determined by our harmony. There you go.
Oh man, that's great for the last word, Alexei. I want to thank you for joining me on the show today and bringing all this great knowledge to the people. And they really need it. They really need it. They're in a desert. They need to be let out of the desert, and to realize that they're in the desert is the first point in getting out of it. You know. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thanks for being with me today, Alexei, and thank you, Shelley, for being on.
Thank you very much, both of you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Welcome. Okay. Good night, everybody.